ice on the ground and coating lots of things. So thankfully we have power, but it is definitely chilly.
Now, this is Neil. I'm down here at the Holiday Inn Capitol. I just want you guys to know we came in early on Saturday, so I have not seen the snow, and I choose not to leave the hotel until tomorrow when we have meetings on the Hill, and that will be my first introduction to the weather.
This is Patty Chang. I come to you from Chicago, where our weather is calm for us. It's simply cold.
And I am Chris Danielson, and I am also stranded at home high above the city of Baltimore in my little apartment with our street is clear and we're near some cleared main streets. So as I was saying earlier, I was able to get to the train station, but no further. So because the trains were, and they kept telling us we could wait if we wanted to, but I realized it seemed like kind of a lost cause. So
I'm just glad you were able to get back from the train station.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very good thing.
And kudos to everyone who did try to make it out to DC. It is always a struggle to balance the safety and the travel, and also, just we all really, really want to be there, but sometimes it's not possible. But shout out to all the people who did try their hardest and who are pouring their virtual energy into this great gathering in we're about to have.
Woohoo! We can't wait. The Great Gathering In is a highlight of our year. We always count down to it. So it feels very strange not to be there in person.
It does.
And kudos to the people who made that hard decision, because I've been hearing people who struggled with that, right? They're at home, they're regretting that they're missing it. So we recognize that your heart is here. And as Pam was saying earlier, we feel your spirit in the room as well.
Yeah, it was hard. And sometimes the airlines just were not our friends. But we understand. How's the energy in the room, Neil? It sounds like everybody's pretty excited.
Yeah, it is amazing. I sit back and I'm like, do you guys know what you're doing? you're competing against a snowstorm, but we're here. The trainings have been going on. All the events that we had planned basically went as they were supposed to, as long as they were Federation centric. Like our career fair, although our employers did not show, we still were able to have a really good professional development seminar. The trainings for our members that are going to be going up the Hill took place. Our president's seminar with our kindergarten leadership and service program, all that went so smoothly. I just love watching us adapt, right? Because I see so many organizations that were not able to continue amongst this particular challenge. So.
Well, what is it? President Riccobono always says the F in NFB stands for flexible. So.
Yeah, we can definitely pidget. Oh my goodness, pivot. we don't pigeonhole ourselves. We pidget. We pivot. Oh my gosh. Okay,
it's cold.
Think maybe
It must be really cold. Yeah.
I do
Melissa,
not
we
understand.
need to thaw, Melissa.
Something. I don't know. But just to let everybody know, those who are here and maybe have been to the Great Gathering In, there are probably also those who are fairly new to the NFB and maybe don't know what this Great Gathering In is all about. So what is the Great Gathering In, Anil? Why do we care? Why are we bringing this to you with pre-show banter and the like? And yeah, exactly. Tell us about it, Anil.
I didn't raise my hand. All right. This is one of the most moving experiences aside from the convention. I'll just let you know me personally. But every year, 500 members of the Federation usually come here, using their time, talent, and intent to advocate on behalf of blind individuals. This year, that 500 is closer to 2, maybe somewhere between 150 to 200 people, but it still has the same energy and excitement. We bring our members in to make sure that the members of Congress know how we feel about the policies that they're going to be making decisions on. Our Great Gathering In is when we come and bring everybody in the room after we've gotten them with training, and it's to motivate them and get them excited about the hard work we have to do tomorrow. So tomorrow we will dispatch in a well-organized group to the Hill, and we'll have meetings with probably usually I know it's usually close to 90 to 95% of the members of Congress of both House and the Senate side. I think we're still going to be doing good because even some of the affiliates who were not able to make it here have pivoted and worked out some virtual opportunities to engage. So again, I love the way that we adapt. So the Great Gathering In is still going to be that room full of excitement that's expanded now through technology, through our Zoom presentations. So this is when we really get excited. I mean, I know it's exciting overall, but this is when we really get excited about the work moving forward.
Definitely. And Patty, I there's also a lot of information that's shared, not just about our legislative activities, which of course that's the big reason why we're here. Sometimes we have people from Congress come and speak, and there's all sorts of surprises usually that come. But Patty, I heard a rumor that we might be talking about some new way for people to give to the NFB. And, you know, I know there are always other ways to give. Patty's our fundraising guru. So what would you like to share with us, Patty, to make sure that you get your time before we have to leave this banter and go to the big event?
So I'm just going to lend a little teaser, which is that I'm going to make an announcement during the Great Gathering In of a new partnership that we have developed. And it will be a benefit to our members and a benefit to the Federation at the same time. And of course, we want to remind everybody that, you know, we all support our advocacy. So there are lots of ways to do that, one of which is financial. If you're in a position to give, please go to nfb.org and check out our Ways to Give page. That lists every single way that we can think of for people to give. So we be flexible. And if you need to give by phone, you can, of course, call extension 2430, and we will help you over the phone to make a contribution. So other than that, I'm going to turn it back to you with that little teaser. I can't give it away, you know.
No, you definitely can't give it away. I mean, that would just be that's not a good idea.
But we won't tell. We won't tell.
We won't tell, but some people might tell. It might
wait.
get back to the man who's the master of the reveal, who's President Riccobono. So, and there's lots of ways that people, even though they're not there in person, can do the advocacy work that needs to be done, because this Washington seminar is really just the beginning, right? This is where the work begins, but it doesn't end until we get a bill passed, right? So there's lots of different ways. Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about how people can get involved when they're, you know, at home and still advocate for what we're pushing for our legislative priorities?
Well, absolutely. So we're going to be talking about the issues, of course, at the Great Gathering In today. You can learn about them there. You can read about them on NFB Newsline. You will shortly, and on the website, nfb.org/Washington-seminar. And after the Washington seminar, you know, the members of Congress come home to their districts from time to time to meet with their constituents. And so you can meet with them in your district and you can share the importance of these issues. We send out legislative alerts, and you can email your members of Congress, and you can share the importance of our issues. You can call. There's a lovely Capitol switchboard. So even if you don't know your individual member of Congress's number, you can call the Capitol switchboard. I'm going to get the number wrong, but I'm sure it'll be announced at some point during the Washington seminar. And you can call the Capitol switchboard. You can get in touch with your member of Congress and or senator, and you can talk to them about our issues. And it's really important that you do that because all of us have stories about how these issues have affected us. All of us have stories about how we have tried to go to work but run into the earnings cliff. Unfortunately, too many of us have those stories. We have stories about the technologies that we need or the technologies that have helped us to be able to do our jobs and to be productive members of society. And we want to make sure that other blind people have the opportunity to have access to those technologies. Those are just a couple of the issues. I'm forgetting one, but it will be talked about. Well, the other is just protecting what we have, right? Because we're making sure that we continue to have all of the civil rights protections as the federal government is sort of being reorganized a little bit. We want to think about how the services and the programs that are important to us are going to continue going forward. So all of those are things that you can talk to your senators, your representatives about in your home district. They have events in the district. So just go to their events and say, hi, I'm a member of your district. I'm one of your constituents. And I happen to be blind. And I want to tell you about some issues that are important to me. And as these legislative initiatives go forward, there'll be various opportunities, various points in the process where it will be particularly appropriate for everybody to comment. So if you're not here, listen to the Great Gathering In, participate virtually, read about our issues. There'll be a nice roundup of this event in the March issue of the Braille Monitor, which I'm going to shamelessly plug since I edited.
Oh, you're the editor, aren't you?
Yes. But also information on our podcasts, on our Nation's Blind podcast. I believe you have something to do with the Nation's Blind podcast, right, Melissa and Anil?
Anil, yeah, we might.
You're
But
right.
get involved. There's lots of ways. That we're almost out of time, actually. But
We
Pam,
are.
do you
Well-
have any?
Well,
quick,
before Pam, let me just
go
really
ahead.
quickly give Norma just the privilege to say hello to everybody. Go ahead.
Oh, hi,
Good
Norma.
morning and welcome, or good
Hi,
afternoon and
Norma.
welcome to warm, beautiful DC.
Yeah.
And is it your birthday today, Norma? Did I
Someone's
see that
asking
rumor?
if it's your birthday.
Not today.
It was
Was it
yesterday.
Yesterday.
Happy birthday, dear Norma. Happy
Melissa's
birthday
singing to you.
you.
Aw.
Yay. And
And it's
more.
beautiful. And many more. There you go. Back to you
But
guys.
we do have to let our first vice president say a word or two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Pam, do you have any good Washington seminar stories to share or anything else you want our people to know? I think you're going to get the last word.
Well, Washington Seminar was the first event that I ever came to in the National Federation of the Blind. And so it really is transformative, whether you're there in person, whether you're joining virtually, or you're back in the district helping with virtual meetings this week. It really shows our work in action. Because of the work that we do, bills are passed and lives are changed. So never underestimate that your voice makes a difference. And we know about the power of collective action in the National Federation of the Blind, but we can't do that without every single person getting involved. So I know 2026 is going to go down in history, as our Washington seminars always do, because we will change life as a result of our work together.
And you know what? That should motivate everyone to renew their membership and look at our convention page and attend our national convention.
Oh, definitely, because
Getting
it'll be
involved.
July before you know it.
Yeah.
July
Speaking
3rd
of
through the
Texas and
8th.
Norma.
Yes, Austin. I'm so excited to go to Austin, Texas. So
Yay.
excited. Yeah, absolutely. Very good, Patty. Very well said. Well, I think that we need to get ourselves off because I think that Will Schwatka needs to do some magic to get everything in the room going so that everybody will be able to hear, not from us, because we're not the main event anymore. We have the Great Gathering, and that's going to come into the room where it happens. And so I think, if I'm just checking the time here, Daniela, are we ready to make that switch over?
I think
Yeah.
we're ready.
You're on
Okay.
time. Perfect.
Well, thank you so much, Patty, Pam, Anil, Chris, everybody that's joined us. Stay tuned. You're going to just hear a little bit of either silence or a little bit of background noise, and then you will get to hear the Great Gathering In. Thank you so much for being with
emerging from the
us.
shadows, and they are emerging in force. By the strength of their own organization, by the power of their collective will, blind federationists are rewriting the terms of their contract with society.
All these these years we've been fighting the fight, and I'm just trying to live my life the way I want, the way I need, breaking down walls with the NFB. Don't even get me started on SSA, and when are we getting rid of sub minimum wage? The stupid touch screens that make me wanna scream, and please stop dragging me across the street. They treat me like a baby, outrageous. You know I'm blind, I'm not contagious. Call an Uber for a lift, what's the driver gonna do? 'Cause by God, my dog's gonna get into. We're standing strong, we'll fight it all together. Working every day, we're gonna make it better. No, you're not alone. We care, we share, we grow. From Jersey to LA, everybody let me hear you say, who are we? Oh, who are we? Who are we? If I can't get all my books in Braille and can't use the sets for school, you know I'm gonna fail. Professor, can you read out what you're writing on the board? 'Cause following the law is what they're paying you for. Applying for a job, you know I'm qualified, but then they see the cane and they deny prescriptions and websites and voting at the polls. It's high time, it's all accessible. They say I'm never gonna be prestigious. We both know that's egregious. If I wanna be a doctor or the CEO, they keep on telling me no, no, no. We're standing strong, we'll fight it all together. Working every day, we're gonna make it better. No, you're not alone. We care, we share, we grow. From Jersey to LA, everybody let me hear you say, who are we? Oh, who are we? Who are we? One voice, one love, there's so much we could do. We could raise children in this world we're building, a world for me and you. We could move mountains and mountain movements, make a world where we don't have to keep on proving our worth. We're gonna be heard. We're gonna be heard. Who are we? NFB. Oh, who are we? NFB. Who are we? NFB.
The 2026 Washington Seminar of the National Federation of the Blind is now in order. In January of 1776, Thomas Paine published Common Sense. What made that pamphlet revolutionary was not simply its call for independence, but the way it framed that call. Paine did not argue that independence was heroic or dramatic. He argued that it was obvious. He insisted that paternal rule had lost its legitimacy and that people long treated as dependents were fully capable of governing themselves. Reconciliation, he said, was no longer rational. Independence was simply common sense. In November of 1940, Jacobus ten Broek made a similar declaration on behalf of blind Americans. At the time the National Federation of the Blind was founded, blind people were treated much like the colonies once had been, spoken for, managed by others, and constrained by low expectations, presented as protection. Decisions about our lives were made without us, justified by charity rather than equality, by control rather than self-determination. Our federation rejected that model outright. We asserted that blind people are not wards, not clients, and not objects of care, but independent, self-directing individuals capable of full participation in society. We insisted that blind people must speak for ourselves and shape the policies that govern our lives, reflecting the very values upon which our nation was founded. Like Payne, Dr. Ten Broek and our founding federationists did not ask for special status. We claimed normalcy. We claimed agency. We claimed independence. And just as in 1776, that claim was not radical, it was common sense. That is what brings us to our nation's capital today. Independence does not sustain itself. It must be claimed, defended, and advanced, even as our nation prepares to celebrate its 250th anniversary. Our laws and policies continue to be shaped by misconceptions, low expectations, and charity rather than independence for the blind. Blind Americans have come to Capitol Hill because we expect to do what self-governing people must do: speak directly to those who craft the rules that shape our lives. We do not come asking to be taken care of. We come insisting on equal access, equal opportunity, and equal responsibility. Our presence here proves the principle that we advance. Blind people know what we need. We know how to build solutions. We know how to lead. Our independence is not a theory or an aspiration. It is self-evident, and it is our daily experience. Advocating for its recognition is not radical. It is common sense. Congress needs our advice and guidance because our first branch of government does not yet include enough blind experience for our solutions to be obvious. But do not worry, America. The blind are here to move beyond the nonsense and contribute meaningfully to achieve this nation's ideals. For nearly a century, programs in education, employment, and independent living have been shaped through authentic advocacy by blind people themselves. These efforts have enabled blind children to receive instruction and materials in Braille so they could grow into fully contributing, tax-paying adults across every sector of our economy. These programs have supported newly blind individuals with meaningful rehabilitation, allowing them to continue offering their talents to employers rather than being forced into dependency. Independent living programs, though dramatically underfunded, have allowed blind seniors to remain in their homes, caring for grandchildren and living full lives instead of relying on costly custodial care. Yet, after 250 years, some claim that eliminating these programs represents progress. We, the blind, respond clearly. Encourage our greater independence, and America will receive far more in return. That is common sense. In 2026, technology touches nearly every aspect of life. Yet, accessibility has not been built into all of the tools of modern progress. If blind people are given control over purchasing the accessible technology we need, we will unlock potential that benefits the entire nation. Independence, self-determination, and equal opportunity are not lofty policy aspirations for the blind. They are common sense solutions. Nearly a century ago, our nation established Social Security, and since 1940, blind Americans have played a significant role in making it meaningful. Yet, one policy remains glaringly illogical. Our nation encourages blind people to work, but only up to an arbitrary and inadequate earnings threshold, beyond which independence is punished rather than rewarded. We offer a better way, a solution that strengthens independence, streamlines government oversight, increases tax contributions, and encourages participation in the American dream. The Blind Americans Return to Work Act is not radical policy. It is common sense. We come to Congress not as partisans, but as Americans. We are not Republicans or Democrats first, not liberals, Greens, or independents. We are citizens who happen to be blind. Our work is not about ideology. It is about equality. We bring practical solutions grounded in lived experience, informed by responsibility, and aimed at strengthening the nation we share. By advocating together across political lines, we affirm a fundamental democratic truth. Self-governed people solve problems best when they come as equals, committed not to politics, but to the ongoing work of forming a more perfect union. This is how blind people come together. This is how independence is claimed, protected, and advanced. This is how common sense solutions become national policy. We are the National Federation of the Blind, and this is the significance of our Washington seminar. Well, we got a great crowd here in person. How about that? And we want to acknowledge that many of our members, despite extraordinary efforts, no fault of their own, who really wanted to be in this room this evening, could not get here, but they are with us in spirit, and they're going to make sure that our work is effective in getting the changes in the laws that we want. So thank you to all of our members who are with us on Zoom. Now, we do have a number of our affiliate presidents. Of course, we have many of the members of our board of directors here with us this evening, and the rest of them are on Zoom. And so we're very happy to have so many of our leaders present for this important occasion. And a lot of times we would start the Great Gathering In with various interesting announcements and that sort of thing, but we're gonna bust right into the Great Gathering In with a really important presentation. You know, we don't use words like champion very lightly. And we don't give recognition just because we like to give recognition. We do it because it's earned and it means something to us as blind people. And this evening, we have a very special opportunity to acknowledge a member of Congress who has proven time and time again that he is truly a champion for our rights, for our solutions, and for our lived experience. Now, it's difficult in the best circumstances to get members of Congress, even if we're going to recognize them, to be here. And that's true in the best of times. And the weather has been extraordinary the last couple of days. So unfortunately, the weather has prevented this gentleman from being here in person with us. And frankly, a lot of times when a member of Congress can't be with us in person, we just skip it because we got other important work to do. But this presentation is so important, so meaningful to us, and so much a part of our history that we wanted to go forward with it anyway. So he has joined us on Zoom, and I'm going to introduce him very soon. His leadership in Congress spans back to 1981. But we knew him before that because he was a primary leader in the Maryland State Legislature. He was first elected to the Maryland State Senate in 1966, and he was elected as the president of the Maryland State Senate in 1975. He now represents Maryland's 5th Congressional District, and he has announced that he is retiring. I know, it's disappointing. But fortunately, for 4 decades in Congress, he has developed a record of legislative work and mentorship for congressional leaders and emerging congressional leaders, passing on his values, his understanding, and his work, especially with the disability community, and listening and reflecting the leadership of the disability community. Now, it is notable that he served 2 separate 4-year stints in Congress, where he was elected to be the United States House of Representatives Majority Leader. And while he has great depth of experience and so many legislative achievements that he has touched, time after time, year after year, really decade after decade, he's continued to be a champion for the work and priorities of the National Federation of the Blind. Now, I don't have a lot of time to go through his extensive 4 decades of legislative achievement, but let me just give you some small examples of his work. One of the things that shaped his legacy, especially as it relates to disability rights, is his central leadership role many years ago as the lead House sponsor of a small bill called the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's just, yeah, which I'm sure he said at the time was just common sense. And his transformational work on that civil rights legislation and its later amendments in 2008 was critical to advancing a lot of the work that this organization and our movement has done over the last 35 plus years. But that's just one small example. He was also a champion for the Marrakesh Treaty Implementation Act of 2018, which of course has opened America up to being able to participate in digital works around the world, and he is now continuing to work very hard on ensuring digital accessibility as a co-lead for the Websites and Software Applications Accessibility Act in Congress. Now, one other small thing to mention, he was a primary champion for the Louis Braille Bicentennial Commemorative Silver Dollar, which of course, minting of that coin after the legislation was passed began on March 26th, 2009, and 2 of the Louis Braille coins were flown on STS-125 in May of 2009. And I first had the opportunity to meet this gentleman later that year because he participated in a ceremony that he made possible for us to be part of at what was at the time the new Capitol Visitor Center. I believe we were one of the first, if not the first, large group to have a meeting at the new Capitol Visitor Center. And that gathering was on July 31st of 2009, after we gathered the participants of our 2009 NFB Youth Slam at the Lincoln Memorial. We marched to the Capitol Visitor Center, where we were greeted by the congressman who I had the honor of introducing that evening. And that evening, we were given the 2 coins that were flown in space, which now appear prominently in our Jacobus Tenbrook Research Library at our national headquarters. That's just a few examples of the things that this gentleman has done. Before I introduce him, I want to read the text of the award, which we will give to him in person. We have the award, I think, somewhere. Okay, we have it in the room, and I'm going to read the text, and then I'm going to introduce him for his remarks. It's my great honor, on behalf of the National Federation of the Blind, to present this award, which is in Braille and for equality purposes, also in print. And it reads as follows. National Federation of the Blind Distinguished Legislative Award, presented to the Honorable Steny Hoyer for your sponsorship of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990, to your work on the Websites and Software Applications Accessibility Act in the 119th Congress. Your leadership and dedication to equality for all Americans with disabilities is unparalleled. We honor you for an enduring and distinguished legacy of service and your deep belief in blind Americans. Together with love, hope, and determination, we transform dreams into reality. January 26th, 2026, here is the Honorable Steny Hoyer.
Mark, I want to thank you for that very, very, very too generous introduction. I was afraid you were going to go through the 44 years, but people would walk out. And I'm very sorry that I'm not there personally, but I am very pleased that you made a reasonable accommodation for those of us who have the disability of not being able to do Braille. That was very thoughtful of you. I feel included. And I want to thank Pam Allen, your vice president, and my dear, dear friend, John Parry, who has been such a giant, I think, in the advocacy on behalf of the blind. We are the NFB. And for me, John, in many respects, is my voice in my ear on a regular basis of the NFB. And John, I thank you. I see you sitting down there, I think, right behind the podium. Stand up, John. Let me see you. As the Director of Advocacy and Policy, you do an extraordinary job. And Mark, let me say how I want a copy of your speech. And again, make the reasonable accommodation so I don't have to read it as you did. Although I'll tell you this, as you were giving the speech, you had the great advantage of not having to look at a monitor or look down at a paper. I thought to myself, boy, I wish I had that skill. It was remarkable. And I may use a couple of the lines that you said in the remarks that I'm going to give. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you for that introduction, and I want to thank you all for being here tonight. And I apologize. I'm sorry that I'm not there. And I hope all of you get out on whenever you're leaving. I hope the airplanes are flying and the slush or the ice is not too great. And so I want all of you to be careful when you exit the hotel. It's a great honor. I say that very sincerely, to receive this Distinguished Legislator Award. Back when I started in Congress in 1981, most Americans' exposure to the blind community was frankly through some entertainers. And I mentioned Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder. And I mention them because in the song, It was a young woman who was singing the song. They said, they tell me no, no, no. And that's what I'm sure they confronted. That's what so many of you confront and have confronted, perhaps on a too frequent basis. No, 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 you can't do that. That was not true, that you can't do that. In fact, you can do almost everything. And we want to make it everything, which is why I'm focused on the Website Act, so that we can make sure that in a technological age, you can involve yourself in everything. And as I was listening to your speech, Mark, I was thinking, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among those, life, liberty, and critically, the pursuit of happiness. But you know what I tell people, Mark? I tell them it may be self-evident, but it is not self-executing. All of you in the room know it is not self-executing. That's why you're advocates. That's why you are so engaged in making sure that members know the challenges that you confront, know the artificial barriers that are constructed, sometime with ignorance and sometime perhaps not, to shutting you out of certain aspects of that pursuit of happiness that, particularly in this technological age, are absolutely essential. Some of you are probably too young to remember when the charity single, "We Are the World," charity was for Africa. I love that song, "We Are the World." That was released in 1985 with Ray, with Stevie, and a host of other artists on the track, Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, Harry Belafonte. We are the world. You are the world. And in that song, they sing, and I quote, "There comes a time when we hear a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying, and it's time to lend a hand." You could add a line to that. There are people who can do things that are shut out because of irrational and perhaps unknowing barriers that are constructed. As I said, they were raising money to provide for Africa. But I like to think I heard a similar call when it came to disability rights. Our answer to that call was the Americans with Disabilities Act. And when I leave the Congress some year from now, I will look back on the Americans with Disabilities Act as perhaps my greatest achievement in the Congress of the United States. But I also will do so with a strong conviction that it was not my accomplishment. It was not Tony Quello's, although he certainly was a giant in that effort. But it was the culmination of the courage and commitment of those who were faced with challenges on a daily basis that shut them out, that didn't recognize how they were being shut out. It seems unimaginable today, a bipartisan bill passed by a Democratic Congress and signed by a Republican president, a bill that changed not only policy, but America and global awareness itself. For too long, people with disabilities face stigma and discrimination in everything from housing to employment to healthcare to mobility to lack of transportation, and the no, no, no of which she sang. The ADA confronted that prejudice and, yes, ignorance, some conscious, some not, in our society and in our institutions head on, allowing millions of people to live with greater independence, dignity, access, as you said, Mark, and opportunity, and as you added so correctly, responsibility. so many of you took that responsibility on behalf of those who were similarly situated, who had challenges. I kid, Mark and ladies and gentlemen, I kid that Abe Pollin, who owned the Washington Wizards and was a good friend of mine, never asked me to play center for the Wizards. Why? Because I'm 6 feet tall, not 7 feet tall. So from his perspective, at least, I had a disability regarding jamming the ball through the basket. A dunk. But like all of you in this room, you may have what is considered a, quote, disability, but in some ways it perhaps heightens all of your senses, and you have great abilities and great contributions to make to our country, to our communities, to our businesses, and to your families, and of course, to yourself. And what the Americans with Disabilities Act that you fought so successfully for and heightened the awareness of members as to what your disability meant in terms of exclusion. When I look back on my 40 years, as I said, 45 years, and nearly 60 years in public service, this will be a shining example for me of why I ran for office, of why I involved myself. And the feeling of accomplishment I got when I see the faces of people who now feel respected, included, and perhaps better understood. Leading the charge, of course, was Tony Coelho, and so many others. Ted Kennedy, Bob Dole, Tom Harkin. I could go through just literally many scores of legislators, but it is those of you who are involved on the front line with the experience that you could then relate and had the courage to relate to members. The struggle for disability rights has continued every year since then. As we know, it must. And I will continue to do my part, working with you to advance the efforts in my final year in Congress. Just as the ADA transformed the physical landscape of the United States to accommodate those with disabilities, we need to do the same in the digital landscape. Maybe not a place, but a digital environment. Being able to use computer software and the internet is not a luxury. It is a necessity in the 21st century, an absolute necessity for inclusion. And yet, as we all know, many people with disabilities, especially those who are blind, still face challenges using the web. That's why, at your encouragement, that's why I introduced bipartisan legislation last year to reaffirm the ADA's requirements in existing law for accessibility applied to the digital spaces just as they do to physical places. Please know, ladies and gentlemen, my commitment to standing up for the blind community and for disability rights will not waver in my final 11 months in Congress. We're going to keep making progress on the Website and Software Application Accessibility Act. Senator Duckworth has been a champion of that act, and I'm going to work very closely with her to make sure that that act is considered and hopefully passed. But let me urge all of you, and you know this to be the case, to redouble your efforts at education so that people understand how you're shut out every day. Because I think if they understand that, as they did with the ADA, we had a tough time getting the ADA passed. But the final vote was overwhelming. It was overwhelming because you educated people as to what the challenges were and the differences you could make with a reasonable accommodation, with inclusion, with opportunity. We're going to keep working to foster the same spirit of cooperation that made the ADA possible. And as Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles sang, we're going to make a better day. A day of inclusion, a day of independence. You quoted Thomas Paine, Common Sense. Inclusion and independence for all of our citizens makes common sense. God bless you in your efforts. We double them. Let's get this done. God bless you. Thank you very much. I am honored by this award.
All right, let's hear it for Steny Hoyer. There we go. Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Congressman, for being with us, and we look forward to finding an opportunity to be in person with you soon to deliver this plaque to you. And just know that you will always continue to be present in our hearts for the leadership that you have provided. And although you're leaving Congress, we know that you'll still be in the fight with us, and we'll still be showing up here. And maybe we'll get somebody in this audience elected to Congress to help out, you know?
There you go. Good for you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night. All right. Well, this is a good start, right? We're just getting warmed up. All right. We do have a number of other things to move to. I mentioned dignitaries, and I do have one other champion to mention, which is this Washington seminar is being sponsored by Waymo. And, Waymo is a strong partner of the National Federation of the Blind. They're a champion for accessibility in autonomous vehicle transportation. Our relationship now goes way back to actually before it was even Waymo. And, they have really come to understand that accessibility has to be a core principle in the platform that they're developing, but also that our voice is really important in terms of defining and creating, building a more perfect union. And so we really appreciate that Waymo, in addition to working with us on autonomous vehicles, has been a primary sponsor here of our Washington seminar, especially in a year like this, when I'm sure we will be taking on some unexpected costs because of the circumstances. So how about a big round of applause for Waymo? Now, we want to talk about the work that we're doing, and especially in order to involve our members who could not make it to Washington, D.C., but also to let folks know that the Federation did show up. We have a presence here on the Hill. We'll be sliding around the congressional offices. And we want to be able to promote that in social media and other ways, and also capture the stories. So here for some brief communications announcements is the editor of our Braille Monitor, Chris Danielson.
Oh. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, there you are. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Because I couldn't hear you for a second. But anyway, howdy, everybody. I am glad to be here virtually. And following Steny Hoyer, Congressman Hoyer, that's not a high pressure situation at all. But I'm thrilled to be here. And what a great honor to have the congressman with us and to make that great presentation. And after our president with his great presentation about common sense. It's always so exciting, and the Washington Seminar is a favorite moment of the year for me. And I know it's a favorite for many of you too, and I know you're all glad that you could be there. So what I'd like to say, I will keep it brief because I cannot match either President Riccobono or Congressman Hoyer for eloquence. But what I will say is that at Washington Seminar and at other times, we want all of you to be part of our many communications. And we have not only the Braille Monitor, which I have the privilege of editing on your behalf, but also our podcast, the Nation's Blind Podcast, Access On, and our newest podcast, Walking Alone and Marching Together, which I hope you're all listening to. I will take a moment to say that if you listen to the first episode of that podcast, you will hear about how we were fighting for Social Security back in 1940. And you will hear Dr. Tenbrook's first banquet speech, Have Our Blind Social Security. Now, because of the National Federation of the Blind, we have Social Security, but we still have that barrier of the earnings cliff. So history rhymes, and we continue to advance. Now, how do you tell your stories? How do you become part of our many communication streams? Couple of simple ways. Send an email to story@nfb.org. Couldn't be simpler. Story@nfb.org. That can be something in writing. It can be pictures. When you go on the Hill and you take pictures with your member of Congress, and share those pictures and thank them for meeting with us. You can also do that on social media. The hashtag on all the social media thingies is hashtag NFB in DC. NFB in DC. Pretty simple. And you can do that on Mastodon. You can do that on X. You can do it on Facebook, and you can tag the National Federation of the Blind on all those platforms, so that we'll be sure to see your posts. So do post about your meetings. Do post about your and thank your members of Congress for meeting. Now, importantly, please do not post about what commitments, if any, the members of Congress have made, because we don't want to scoop the members of Congress. They're very proud to support us, but we want them to be able to say that from their own offices, and then we can thank them properly. But otherwise, do share your experiences, especially with your members of Congress. Story@nfb.org and NFB in DC. And all of that will be part of our social media during the Washington seminar, but it may end up in our other communication streams as well. And so please be engaged. And everybody who is participating in this, whether it's here in Washington or in the districts later, can continue to use the hashtag and continue to send materials to story@nfb.org. And I thank you for your participation in all of our communication efforts. You know, this is our movement. It's our story. It's our advocacy. So we all need to tell it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. And let me use this opportunity to say that big thank you to all of our NFB staff who some trudged down to DC early. Some couldn't make it to DC, but they're helping with the Zoom and helping with other things and have been helping to make logistics happen. Thank you so much to our logistics group that shipped all of our presidents down here early, So even if folks are not here in the room, our staff that is, of course, they would have loved to be here, but they're still contributing in big ways. So thank you to our staff. Will Schwatka is here, though, and the sound is great, so thank you, Will. Now, we continue to have a central logistics operation here at the Washington seminar. I still call it the Mercury Room because, it'll always be Mercury, but it's room 275 to, the first timers. And we're really grateful that from Virginia. Sandy Halverson is heading this effort up. So here's Sandy. All right, there you go.
Hey. These darn tall people. Okay. While snow and ice are not what we planned, we'll meet with Congress and do what we can to improve the life for blind people across the nation, because that's what we do in our federation. To defray the costs of meeting space and publications, we're passing among you to collect your donations. I hope we give as generously as we are able, and don't let those buckets skip the head table. Our friends in Zoomland can help us too. Credit card, donate page, you know what to do. We who work in room 275 have many services that we provide. 2 kinds of NFB canes, but alas, you can't take one with you unless you bring cash. If your appointments change, please let us know so our governmental affairs team will know where to go. But how do you report what happened each day? Oh, you'll be surprised by the number of ways. If our seminar portal isn't your thing, Room 275 has an excellent team eager to enter each report, and will help you decide if it's long or it's short. If you've lost something, don't despair. Check 275. It might be there. From 8 to 4:30, take calendars or packets, or claim your lost cell phone, technology, or jacket. I think, Mr. President, I'll go away and find a seat. I have no more to say.
That's right. That's right. That was pretty good for just 5 minutes writing that. All right. Thank you very much, Sandy, and to all the team that's working in 275. We appreciate your efforts. Definitely a lot of behind-the-scenes work. All right. We have a lot more to go through. Chris mentioned stories, and we're creating stories this week that are building upon stories that have already been created and told in our movement. And our movement has committed to bringing the authentic experiences, the authentic stories of blind people to life in new and dynamic ways, to changing the image of blindness in the public in a way that we have never imagined, by going even bigger, by challenging ourselves to go even further, to spark a bold initiative to bring the stories of everyday blind people, the extraordinary and the ordinary, to help truly change the image of blindness in society, which we know continues to be one of our most pressing concerns. We're reshaping this effort into what we now call Blind Unbound. Blind Unbound is a storytelling initiative of the National Federation of the Blind to reshape how society understands blindness. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that through a multi-platform, public experiences incorporating art, media, technology, and of course, that will also include the National Museum of the Blind People's Movement. And hopefully you noted that last month, two members of, well, a member of Congress and a senator from the great state of Maryland introduced a bill to designate our national headquarters as the National Museum of the Blind People's Movement. This is an important opportunity for us to build something bigger than before, not just a physical space, but actually a digital space, a collaboration space where we can bring our stories, our art, our music, our media to people in a way that we haven't before, to bring the individual stories of blind people together, to show that our individual stories are interesting, but what makes them powerful is when we work together in a coordinated movement. Now, this is a big, bold idea, and it's going to cost a lot of money. But we need your ideas about what Blind Unbound should be. We need your connections. We need to know what you want it to be. How do you want to tell the story of the blind people's movement? Now, we're collecting oral histories, and we will be reaching out especially to our first-timers here at the Washington Seminar to collect what your first experience was on Capitol Hill. And maybe 30 years from now, like my Washington Seminar, first one was 30 years ago, we'll be able to put your voice against that first experience and learn how you have grown and how you have transformed the organized blind movement, and equally as important, how that movement has transformed you. And imagine how those words, your reflections, might change the perception of blind people, not just today, but into the future. We have a lot of work to do in this area, but my call here for you today is to get involved with our Blind Unbound movement, our initiative. We've already done a great job. We've gotten funding from the state of Maryland. We got an appropriation from the federal government. But we need many, many more millions to do and achieve our big dream. And I will say this because I've said it every time to you. This big idea we have to do alongside all of the other things that we want to do. It's not an either or, it's an and, right? So your involvement, really important. So please share your ideas, your connections, your thoughts, your dreams, your imaginations, museum@nfb.org. And as we build the Blind Unbound initiative, we're going to see our stories transform society. Really exciting stuff, right? Yeah. So we do have a number of other presenters to talk this evening, and I want to first introduce a gentleman who, in addition to many other programs, does oversee the National Archives of the Blind People's Movement. He has played many roles in the Federation, but currently serves as our Executive Director of Blindness Initiatives. While he comes up, I will adjust the microphone because he is taller than I am. Here's Anil Lewis.
That was funny hearing Sandy say that the mic was too tall for her with Mark over there. I'm like, oh, good, she thinks she followed Mark. Hey! I just want you guys to know that this Atlanta boy is not used to this weather. When it gets like this, we shut the city down. So, but God bless you all for being here. And I want to thank President Riccobono because there are many organizations that, you know, they just shut down in the face of all of this. And I love that he gave us all, you know, the viable choices. Because at the time we were making this decision, many people had already invested a lot of time, energy, and talent to be here. And I'm glad that he made it safe for people to come, as safe as we could. And it's safe for people who wanted to stay home to feel good about staying at home. And so thank you, President Riccobono. So Will, let me know if I'm doing something wrong to evoke that microphone. So I want to thank all of you who made the decision to come here, and also thank the individuals who made the hard decision of staying home. And as I was saying earlier, we recognize that your spirit is here with us, so good to be here. I look around this room and I recognize that you handicapped people have come a long way. You guys remember that handicap thing, you know? Many of you know where it came from. The cap in hand, begging for handouts, you know? And then we evolved a little bit to say, we're not looking for a handout, we're looking for a what? A hand up, right. Well, I think it's time out for that too, right? And I was looking at, because you know I love to do the little call and response. I mean, we're at a place now where we're looking for a handshake, because we want to be working together with people. We're not wanting people to do it for us. We're wanting people to work with us. So the call and response I came up with is we're going to be working together, hand in hand. Well, see if you guys can work with me on this. We'll see. I'm not going to do it offering training. Going to go right into it. I want you guys to rest in the fact that as you're advocating for all of these things we're talking about, these are things that we work for. Right. And because we work for it hard, we're going to have to work hard to keep it. So I want to give you some information that's going to help you with to adopt a perspective. This is great. I'm presenting, so I can't donate. So as we're out here advocating for all these common sense policies that we fought to keep, I just want you to understand that we've done a lot of work to continue to do this. It hasn't been people doing it for us. We've been working together. Yeah, so as we work to protect education and employment and independent living, and we educate people about IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Employment Act, we have to recognize that we are also supporting our Braille Enrichment Literacy and Learning Academy, as well as our STEM2U program, helping students understand that yes, they can learn Braille, but also getting them exposed to blind role models to teach them that they're going to learn to advocate. They're going to need to work together to continue to keep the rights that we fought for. We're going to make sure that we shift the paradigm of thought around the capacity of blind people doing STEM through our STEM2U program, and our affiliates are working together to continue to create these dynamic opportunities to make sure these students excel. We are, President Riccobono mentioned it, so I'm going to give you a little spoiler alert. No big push though, but he mentioned our Youth Slam, right? It happened originally in 2007. 20 years is a good time to celebrate an anniversary of a program like that, right? So look forward to more information about Youth Slam 2027. That's going to be coming for you. I recognize that our guidance is to help you understand that we want to really promote what American Printing House has done for education, but also we work with American Printing House when we're talking about this Monarch. Many of you help shape that product, give them feedback, because APH did it right. They work with blind people to make sure that the product they develop is going to be something that blind people can use. And by working together, we have produced the most phenomenal tactile Braille display that exists today. Wonderful job, you guys. As we're talking about the services under VR, which we fought for, we also recognize that we're going to be supporting it through our Career Quest program with Transition Age Youth, our career fairs, making sure that employers, because we educate our employers at our career fair, as well as creating job opportunities for blind people, because we realize that we have to work together with those employers to continue to create these opportunities. And we're also going to be launching, after a long time hiatus, our NFP summer internship. So I want to let the students know that we're going to be doing that, and we're going to bring them on board so that they can share in this work that we do as a federation. You mentioned the Older Blind program. So our Blindness Initiatives doesn't have a senior program, but we're going to be working on that. But in the meantime, many of our affiliates have their Silver Bells and other programs that are promoting services for blind seniors, and that's how we all get to work together to make sure that seniors can have the independent quality of life that they deserve. Well, I'm not going to get distracted. We talk about the Access Technology Affordability Act. That's important because we want to make sure that we create opportunities for blind people who are going to work to get those credits. It's so funny to me that they're always thinking that we're looking for a handout, right? But we're not, because what happens is we're paying our taxes as we work, supporting infrastructure that we cannot use So we should at least, for the technology that we need to use that is accessible, that makes us productive, get some degree of tax credit. Again, we're not asking for a handout, we're asking for a handshake. Come on, work with us together. Absolutely, and when we're talking about the Blind Employment Return to Work Act, that's our goal. We want to make sure that blind people can work. And we want to make sure that we can do that in a way that doesn't create any penalties or barriers from us making as much money as we possibly can. We have work to do. We know that. We have work to do. And I'm proud that I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, I'm not proud that I forgot to mention that in our pursuit to get quality education, we have really employed through our Teacher of Tomorrow program the help and assistance of those individuals. Yes, they're here. They are here weathering the storm, and they recognize that we have a way we want blind students to be taught, and they're saying, you know what, we want to learn that methodology and we want to introduce it, and then they're going to work together to create an education environment that these students are going to cherish for the rest of their lives. And again, a lot of work to do. We have a lot of people who are here that are helping doing that work. I want to recognize our Kenneth Jernigan Leadership and Service Program participants. They're known as the KJ Lot. If you want to know what LOT stands for, find one of the KJ Lot members. And they're willing and have already been chipping in, doing a lot of the work that we needed done in order to execute this. So we have work to do, right? And we're not afraid of doing work, right? And the more hands, the lighter the work, correct? So let's go build the Federation. Oh, you guys, I love you.
Let's go do that. All right, thank you, Anil. We're going to keep the agenda moving because we have a number of things to get to, and one of the individuals I want to introduce to give a brief update on the work of the Federation was not able to slide out of Baltimore, but is with us on Zoom. This is our Executive Director for Accessibility Excellence, appearing at his second Washington seminar. I'd like to welcome to the virtual podium, Jonathan Mosen.
Thank you, President Riccobono. Good evening, Federation.
Good evening. All right,
I very much wanted to be with my Federation family in person this evening, but I can tell you that the energy and the warmth of the Federation spirit is radiating through cyberspace, so that's great. And I would observe that this weather that we're just experiencing is really character building and a first lifetime thing for me. I've had nothing like this in my life. What have I got into? Now, I have to say that time, like me, is short. I'm with you, Sandy. Good things come in small packages. So to sum up the state of accessibility right now, I'll borrow from a couple of famous creators. As the Beatles said, it's getting better all the time. And the reason for that is because we are determined, we are relentless, we never give up. And that brings me to my second creator. We follow the advice of Mad-Eye Moody from the Harry Potter universe, commanding constant vigilance. I am going to expand first on the Beatles' optimism. At National Convention, I shared the 10 guiding principles that are now the strategic foundation of the National Federation of the Blind's Center of Excellence in Non-Visual Accessibility. To operationalize this strategy, we've implemented a new model, Accessibility Excellence Advocates, who specialize in specific areas. And to start with, we've prioritized 2 roles, education and employment, and home and independent living. And you can hear interviews with our new Accessibility Excellence Advocates in recent editions of the Federation's technology podcast, Access On. We've hit the ground running in 2026 with strengthened subject matter expertise, persuasive advocacy skills, and the capacity to help make sense of this rapidly changing world of technology. We've rebranded our training events to Access On webinars and seminars, and we've already announced a strong lineup of training for the first half of the year. We have new protocols in place to improve responsiveness when you get in touch with CENA. Our small team can't be a replacement for the well-resourced tech firms who know their products better than anyone, but we can point you in the right direction if you're stuck, and we certainly want to hear about any accessibility challenges you're facing. Recently, we announced a partnership with 11 Labs to make their subscription-based 11 Reader Premium product available free to all members of the National Federation of the Blind. With 11 Reader, you can take text that would once have only been readable with traditional text-to-speech engines and have it read by AI-cloned human voices. And there is a voice for any occasion. Now, to access this free offer, you create an account at 11reader.io, and the 11 is spelled out. It's not digits, it's the word 11reader.io. You log into that account, and then you visit 11reader.io/NFB. You complete the simple form, and once we've verified your membership, we'll have 11 Labs enable your free premium service. And finally, let me cover one important matter that falls under the constant vigilance category and discuss developments at Vispero. In the Braille Monitor and Access On, you can catch up with the dialogue between President Riccobono and the recently appointed CEO of Vispero, Rhonda Bassett-Spears. In brief, we're troubled by the loss of several capable blind staff who occupied key positions in the company. Some other blind people who remain have been sidelined from prominent roles in the company. This enormous loss of institutional knowledge could translate into quality issues and the creation of features that we don't want or need. Home annual license users have been excluded from a new AI feature, the very feature that was demonstrated to all of us at National Convention. There are other concerns you can read about as well around licensing and the new mandatory accounts. JAWS is mission critical for many who use it on the job, at school, and at home. We note the attempts to communicate more clearly since we went public with our concerns, and to roll back some of the data collected through the mandatory new accounts. That is progress, but it doesn't address all of the concerns you have communicated to us and that we, as the organised blind movement, are communicating to Vispero. And so there are plenty of positive things to report. There's plenty of progress. It is getting better all the time thanks to our efforts. But when it comes to the companies who develop technology intended for our use, we do indeed practice that constant vigilance. You might even call us Blind Eye Moody. Take care and have a wonderful Washington seminar.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Now, we're all focused on the freezing temperatures here, lots of ice and snow, and it makes you think about July 4th, doesn't it? How wonderful it's going to be. And here to talk about July 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th is someone who had a birthday yesterday. So happy birthday. He serves as treasurer of the National Federation of the Blind and is president of the NFB of Texas. Here is Norma Crosby.
And like Sandy, I'm gonna lower this joker. I'm not gonna do any poetry. So President Riccobono asked me to talk briefly, and so I said, sure, but he didn't tell me you're gonna follow our master orator president, our champion congressman, a poet, a technology guru, and a Neil Lewis. He didn't tell me any of that was going to happen. But I do want to take a minute to talk to you and ask you kind of a family feud question. Now the difference between this family feud question and the ones you might be used to is this. There's only one correct answer. And the question is, where are you going to be during the week of July 3rd through the 8th of 2026. Oh, wow, this is a smart group. Survey says the number one answer, 100 points. In all seriousness, I'm known for making short speeches and informal ones. So I'll just say that we in Texas, Texas in Spanish is Tejas, and Tejas means friend. And we are here to welcome all of our friends to Austin, Texas, the week of July 3 through 8 to the JW Marriott Hotel. And we're here to welcome you to be with us that week. I promise you'll get lots of friendly hospitality from the Texas affiliate. We're humble, but we're kind of loud. So do come and visit us in our hospitality suite in Texas. I promise you, Austin is the live music capital of the world. It's also got a lot of great barbecue, breakfast, tacos, and Mexican food. And a lot of blind people who are looking forward to meeting all of you. So do come to Texas in July. When I die, I may not go to heaven. I don't know if they let cowboys in. If they don't, just let me go to Texas. Texas is as close as I've been. Y'all come.
All right. NFB.org/convention for all the information, and registration will be opening soon. Now, where's Marcy Carpenter? Hey, Marcy, I haven't had the chance to say congratulations, Seahawks. I was thinking about that because I was thinking, how am I going to introduce John Perret? It's football season. And, the team, you all are the team, but, he's really our offensive coordinator. He's calling some plays. He's calling some, figuring out the right places to make sure that we're all doing the right things on the hill to get the ball over the goal line, So here is to introduce also the rest of our squad is the offensive coordinator for the Washington Seminar, and he has served now as our executive director for advocacy and policy for many years, as you heard genuinely from Congressman Hoyer. It's real that John shows up in these places and gets members of Congress to know the name National Federation of the Blind. Here's John Perret.
Thank you, Coach Riccobono. Jeff Olson said, showing up is essential. Showing up consistently is powerful. Showing up consistently with a positive attitude is even more powerful. That's what all of you are doing when you're here today under such difficult travel and weather situation. And as I said, I know that there's many people who, as Anil said and others have said, who wanted to be here and really made heroic efforts. I know of a number of people who started traveling here but then had to turn back. And I know that many of you there will do a great job advocating virtually and will show the teamwork we've always shown with the combination this year of having some meetings in person and some virtually. I think that's going to be great. This is my 23rd consecutive Washington seminar. My first Washington seminar, I was a member of the Florida delegation, and yeah, that's how I felt. I had never visited Congress. I had never been in any of the House or Senate office buildings. I came to the Great Gathering Inn and received training, and I studied the fact sheets. And to be honest, I was quite nervous. I went to the meetings the next day, and they went smoothly, and I was surprised. I learned a couple of things. One, I quickly realized that we know more about blindness than anyone on the Hill. Don't be nervous, you know more. And I also learned that our message resonates. Members of Congress like our high expectations. They like our positive message about blindness, and that our issues make sense. So to talk about them really works out. And I learned about how much important it is and how valuable it is, and how Congress values the fact that we show up year after year here in Washington. But it's not just being in Washington. Our advocacy goes on all year long. Our virtual meetings, or the meetings, not virtual, but the meetings we have in the district during the year, the calls that you make, the legislative alerts that we do, the letters that we write, all of those things contribute to our year-long advocacy and our message of the fact that we show up. Now, we've had a busy year this year. So it's not just Washington seminar, and you've heard about the issues, but we have a total of 12 bills that we've helped get introduced over the past 12 months, since last Washington seminar. We've sent out 14 legislative alerts. I think that's a record for us in 1 year, and you have responded in force with making calls and sending emails. We have done 12 policy letters. President Riccobono has sent 12 policy letters. They're on our web if you'd like to see them. They're listed in reverse chronicle order, meaning the most recent is on top. But 12, I think that's also a record for us. And we responded to 6 official regulatory responses. Those responses are also on the web. We have also most recently defended the Randolph-Shepard program. We had, many of you had meetings. We asked everyone to try to have a meeting virtually, or I keep saying virtually, have a meeting in the district, and I know that many of you did, maybe mostly everyone did, and that there was about 12 affiliates that would be helpful, that were part of the HELP committee, and we wanted them to come visit their senators, and they did. It's the thing on the Randolph-Shepard to keep in mind is we're like, I'll say, NATO. When you attack one of us, you attack all of us. So we fought and continue to fight, and we're making a difference in defending the Randolph-Shepard program. The president of the NFB of Alaska, as one quick story, came, and I went to those 2 meetings. Both senators came in person, Senator Sullivan and Senator Murkowski, thank you. It's been a long day. All right, and they were both there in person. I remember Kevin, the president, was there, and he clearly knows them well, and they know him back and forth. They were buddy-buddy. And so as part of that, we said to the senator, we have the congressional reception coming up, and we need a room and a sponsor. We need someone to sponsor the room. Would you be willing to sponsor it? And he said, yes, I'd be more than happy to do that, and directed his staff to work, and they've been highly responsive. So not only, and he said they both said that they would work to defend the Randolph-Shepard program and our other issues. And then that we brought up the Access Technology Affordability Act, and he said, am I on that? We said no. He said, that's wrong. Get me on that now. And literally a couple hours later, we got a call saying that from Senator Bozeman's office, saying that they just got sort of an urgent call from Senator Sullivan's office to get him on the bill. That just shows you showing up makes the difference. So, looking back on the 23 years, if I was going to reflect, I'd say it's our enthusiasm. Our enthusiasm is infectious, and members of Congress really appreciate our positive attitude. Let's continue that. Our teamwork is what makes such a difference, and especially at this Washington seminar, where so much is changing, and we have to work together to help each other. I know of another story where somebody didn't have a room the other night, and another member here said, well, you can room with me. That's the kind of teamwork and personal friendship that we're known for that makes a difference at the National Federation of the Blind. And our high expectation for ourselves and our organization, that's what makes a difference. All right, now we're going to go through the 3 issues, and let's start with the protecting education, employment, and independent living for the blind. Here is Dr. Justin Young.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. Protecting the employment, or protecting the education, employment, and independent living for the blind is what we're calling this first issue. It has 5 issues within one. I would say, to start out with, your personal stories are vital for all of our issues, and this one particularly, because we want to illustrate that these 5 programs, 3 of them being laws and 2 being funded related programs, that they are vital to us, they're critical to us, and they help us be productive members of our own communities. These 5 are the Individuals with Disability Education Act, which relates to IEPs and ensuring we have a free, appropriate public education for blind students, getting the Braille instruction, the access technology training, and the cane travel to ensure that we have those skills that we need to be productive in whatever our chosen field may be. Employment, that's where the Rehabilitation Act comes into play. Also within that helps us get access to adjustment to blindness training. If we want to go to a training center, that's where that comes in there as well. The Randolph Shepherd program, which John talked about, has been under attack over the last year. We've shown up for over the last year advocating to ensure that this doesn't go away on Army bases and any other branch of the federal government or military. We also want to ensure that older individuals who are blind, that program is funded more adequately. It hasn't been for many, many years. The appropriation bills have been passed in the House. They're working on them in the Senate, but we have made our position clear that it's not been adequately funded to ensure that that blind Americans who are older have those appropriate skills, resources to be successful in whatever they choose to do. And then the final program is related to the American Printing House for the Blind, a strong partner in the work that we've done on the Monarch, and has given accessible technology. It's given Braille materials for over 100 years now. We want to ensure that that is adequately funded as well. These are programs that are important to us as blind people. While we're on the Hill this week, we need to make sure that we make the position clear that we are subject matter experts in blindness. These are programs and laws that we depend on to live the lives that we want, and that we can ensure that they are maintained for us today and those in the future. And the thing I want to say, like I said at the beginning, those personal stories, we have a few in the fact sheet. Also, we have a supplemental material related to the Randolph Shepherd program, which is a letter written by President Riccobono to the chairs and ranking members of the Armed Services Committee for both the House and the Senate, illustrating our position on why Randolph Shepherd is important and needs to be included going forward. And so any personal stories that you have related to Randolph Shepherd or the IDEA or folk rehab, all those are vital and important to illustrate the point of the importance of why we need to protect the education, employment, and independent living programs for blind Americans. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Justin. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Access Technology Affordability Act. When you talk about this bill, the first thing you want to do is really educate members of Congress about what access technology is. Special screen reading software is you can talk about, but especially if you have a refreshable Braille display or a note taker or something physically right there, hard copy Braille that was created by a Braille embosser. Those are great things to describe and show, especially the technology, and talk about how important this technology is, what a difference it makes in your life, especially as it supports your employment and the work that you do from home. And then after you have them convinced that specialized access technology is really important, mention how expensive it is. And that's a problem because it's hard for blind people to be able to afford this important this important technology. And we need this technology because we need it to help search for a job, apply for a job, and keep a job. That's what this technology will help do. Now, we asked Mathematica, a well-respected economic analysis firm, to do an independent analysis about whether or not this bill could potentially save the federal government money or whether it would have a net cost to the federal government. And they said they would do it, and they did. We hired them to do it, but they said they'd do a completely independent analysis and would put a report on their letterhead, which they did, which you have a copy in the packet. You just have the first page, the executive summary, and that executive summary says that this bill would save the federal government $315 million over a 5-year period. Well, that seems to be a no-brainer now. This bill saves the federal government money, and it helps us get the access technology that we need to live the lives we want. It's a win-win. And so now this report came out late last year. It didn't impact the advocacy so much at last Washington seminar because the bill wasn't introduced yet. But now is the time that we can really capitalize this because the Access Technology Affordability Act is introduced in both the House and the Senate. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. But as a quick reminder, the bill creates a $2,000 refundable tax credit for use over a 3-year period. The credit could be used by the taxpayer's spouse, or a dependent for qualified access technology. All right, back to the bills. It is in the House. It's H.R. 1529. We're up to 46 co-sponsors. It's sponsored by Representative Mike Kelly, a well-respected Republican from Pennsylvania, and Mike Thompson, a well-respected Democrat from California, introduced on February 24th of last year. On the Senate side, it is sponsored by Senator Bozeman. It is S1918. We only have 4 co-sponsors right now, but I know that you all are going to do a great job getting that number way up. The lead co-sponsor is Senator Lujan from New Mexico, and it was introduced in May 22, 2023. Sorry, 25. The key would be on the Senate side of people, when you mentioned that the 4 co-sponsors, is that it hasn't been introduced all that long, and we're working now to really educate people on the Mathematica analysis and the value of the bill and how it would improve employment. Of course, that's why the score is what it is, and how it would improve employment for blind Americans at a time when this is needed. It would help us then do many of the same things you'll hear about with the Blind Americans Return to Work Act, and in terms of helping us move off of things like SSI and SSDI and paying more into the system. Now, the committees, in case you're asked, on the House side, it's assigned to the Ways and Means Committee. That chairman is Chairman Jason Smith from Missouri, and it's the ranking member is Richie Neal from Massachusetts. You'll hear the same thing. Same thing in a minute from Jesse. The ATAA and Blind Americans are both assigned to the same committee, so it makes it a little bit easier to keep these things in mind. On the Senate side, it's referred, the counterpart would be the Finance Committee, and there is Mike Crapo, Senator Mike Crapo of Idaho is the chair, and Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon is the ranking member, the lead Democrat. So you'll certainly, if you're going to those offices, you'll want to really spend a lot of time on these two issues, and you'll hear similar things from Jesse. That's a quick rundown on the Access Technology Affordability Act. Let's go hear about the next bill from Jesse Shirek. He is our new Director of Advocacy.
All right. Thank you, John. Federation Advocates. In 2020, I was a newly elected state affiliate president, and I found myself in Washington, D.C., representing North Dakota. I was the only one there from my state, and to be honest with you, I was terrified because I had never sat across the table from a member of Congress or their staff and tried to persuade them to take action. I didn't come to DC feeling confident. I didn't come with years of experience advocating. I came because I believed in our mission. And I knew that if I didn't speak up, nobody else was going to. Tell our story from North Dakota. But here's the thing. Our movement was ready for me. The National Federation of the Blind didn't just send me into those meetings and wish me luck. The Federation trained me, it equipped me, it gave me the tools to succeed. John Perret and his 4 Ps taught me the secret to the perfect congressional meeting. Something that made advocacy feel less like a mystery and more like a skill that I could actually learn. I wasn't going into those offices alone either. Our former Braille Monitor editor, Gary Wonder, went alongside me to the appointments, encouraging me and helping me find my voice. And because of that training, because of that support, we were successful. We were able to get 2 of our members of Congress to sponsor the Access Technology Affordability Act. Now, that's the story I usually tell. That is the story I share to explain what happens when blind people show up and advocate with confidence. But there was another part of my story that I didn't tell anyone. At the time, I had a secret, and I'm going to tell you. While I was walking the halls of Congress asking lawmakers to expand opportunity for blind people, I was personally trapped by one of the biggest barriers in our entire system, the earnings cliff. At the time, I owned a small business. I taught blind people how to use JAWS and VoiceOver, and I built accessible websites. I had clients, I had skills, I had ambition, and I had more work that I could take on. But I wasn't thinking about how to grow my business. Instead, I was forced to focus on something that never should have been the goal. Making sure that I did not make too much money. I had maxed out my earning potential, not because I had maxed out my time, not because I had maxed out my talent, not because my business couldn't grow. I was capped by an artificial ceiling created by policy. Substantial gainful activity, that one phrase shaped my choices more than it ever should have. It wasn't the market that limited me. It wasn't my work ethic. It was fear. Fear that if I earned too much, I could lose the support that my wife and I depended on, that my future ability could be put at risk. And at that time, I didn't even realize how much work our movement had already done to fight against this injustice. I didn't realize how long we have been pushing to replace the earnings cliff with something that supports work. Instead of punishing it, So I suffered in silence. I smiled through meetings. I talked about opportunity and independence. And inside, I was constantly calculating how close I was getting to that cliff. How much was too much? Whether taking on one more contract would put everything at risk. That is not freedom. That is not opportunity. It is not what any of us should have to live with. Eventually, I realized I had to escape the earnings cliff if I wanted a real future. And the choice that I had to make was extreme. In the middle of the pandemic, I sold my house. My wife, Sherry, and I packed up our lives and moved across the country to New Mexico. Love New Mexico. The community I knew I left behind. Stability, I took a risk on a job I wasn't sure about in a place that was unfamiliar during one of the most uncertain times in modern history. It worked out. It truly did. Sherry and I wound up exactly where we needed to be. But I want to be very clear. Nobody should have to make that decision. Nobody should have to move across the country, sell their home, and gamble their future just to be allowed to work and earn. We should all be able to work as much as we want, without fear, without penalty, and without putting our future security in danger. That is why we are here. That is why we advocate. And that is why we must act now. So whether you're here virtually or in person, I'm asking you to tell Congress something simple and powerful. We must replace the earnings cliff with a gentle phase out. Here's what that means. Starting at substantial gainful activity, $2,830, we should move to a system where blind people keep more of what we earn and gradually reduce benefits instead of dropping them off a cliff. Under this plan, we would give back $1 of benefits for every $2 earned over SGA, similar to the way that SSI works. This is not radical. This is reasonable. It's fair and is long overdue. And to make it even more practical and achievable, it will begin as a 10-year demonstration project. That means every blind person will have the opportunity to earn as much as we want, build our careers, build our businesses, and use our talents to the fullest potential without the system punishing us for success. Now, I want you to understand. I want you to understand something else. We're not fighting this battle alone. Please tell Congress that this initiative is supported by the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Frank Bisignano. Think about that. The Commissioner of the Social Security Administration supports giving blind Americans a real opportunity to succeed. We have included a letter from our House sponsor, Pete Sessions, to Jason Smith, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, that details that support. I have to tell you that I cannot imagine why anyone would object to this. The Commissioner of Social Security is in favor of giving blind Americans a true opportunity to work, earn, and thrive. What excuse is left for continuing a system that punishes achievement? This is the moment. This is our opportunity. And I want to close with something personal. On my first day of work with the National Federation of the Blind, Sherry told me something that I will never forget. She said, "Go out and change our future." And that is exactly what we, the National Federation of the Blind, are doing every day. So whether you are sitting across from a member of Congress, speaking to staff on Zoom, or making a simple phone call, I want you to remember, tell Congress to support the Blind Americans Return to Work Act Tell them to replace the earnings cliff with opportunity. Tell them that blind people are ready to work, ready to contribute, and ready to build lives of independence. And let opportunity be for all. Thank you.
That was terrific. Thank you, Jesse. All right, now we have one last presentation. There's a lot of logistics that goes with all of this. You've heard about the three different bills and I think some really nice stories. But let's try to go through some logistics. Here, our master of logistics that helps support Sandy is Kyle Walls. Kyle, over to you.
All right, thank you, John. Logistics. Whew, that has been a word this year. So, as I'm sure most of you have learned, the snow has brought its own set of logistical challenges. If you are here and you were brave enough to venture out yesterday, you probably got snow in your hair, in your face, in your clothes, in your boots. I even heard, and I won't name names, a story of someone who had snow in their hotel room. Okay, fine, I will name names. It was me. But nonetheless, we're here because you all, to borrow one of John's 4 Ps, are persistent. And we're not going to do that again. If you were here a few years ago, you know what I'm talking about. So, to get down to the nitty-gritty. Room 275, if you were hoping to visit it today, I have bad news, you are too late. But the good news is it will be open tomorrow at 8 a.m. and will be open until 4 p.m. It will be open again on Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 5:45 p.m. and on Thursday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Now you might ask, what can I do in room 275? Well, one of the important things, one of the perhaps most important things you can do there if you have not already done it, is pick up your packets for your meetings on the Hill this week. Quick description of these packets. On the left-hand side, when you open it up, are our 3 fact sheets with a legislative agenda as a cover page. On the right side of the packets are a brochure for Newsline, a letter from President Riccobono to the chair and ranking member of the Armed Services Committees regarding the Randolph-Shepard program, the Mathematica cover sheet for the ATAA dynamic score, the letter from Representative Sessions to Chairman Smith regarding the Blind Americans Return to Work Act, and our scholarship flyer for this year. Also in 275 are fact sheets. We have these in both Braille and print, so pick those up. If you haven't looked at them on the website, go ahead and pick those up and study them. Very important that you know the issues for the coming week. We also have agendas for the Washington seminar this year, both in Braille and print as well, although at this point, much of that has been changed, so don't know how effective those are anymore. We also have, when you pick up your packets, you will get the individual member of Congress information sheets. There is one for each member in your state, so that's both House and Senate. You will have 2 copies of those, 2 in print, 2 in Braille. And on those, you will get the name, state, district, what you should be thanking the member for, that is, if they're a sponsor or co-sponsor or in support of our legislation, and what committees they are on, if they're on any committees that are relevant to the issues. You can also drop off business cards from any staffers that you meet with this week on the Hill. You could do that in 275. All right, now that we've gotten past 275, if you have not done so, please continue to enter your meetings in the portal. I know many of you have. I get an email for every single meeting that goes in there, so I know how many of you have done it. Or not, correct, right, Sandy? Once you've had your meeting, you can go ahead and use that same portal to enter the ratings. So our ratings are yes, no, undecided, or not discussed. If you got a very firm, positive reaction yes from the staffer or the member of Congress, and they said, yes, we want to co-sponsor this legislation, enter that as a yes. If they were very firm in the opposite direction, enter that as a no. I suspect most of you will be using that undecided option because members of Congress can be pretty cagey. If you got to talking about two of our issues in really great depth and didn't quite make it to the third, go ahead and put not discussed for that third issue. There is also space under each issue rating for comment. Use it. This is very important to us. This gives us a very good measure of how they felt aside from the rating itself. So use this if they had any specific questions, if you met with a specific staffer and they were very interested but weren't willing to make a decision one way or another. Use this comment space to write that down. And as always, if you do not feel comfortable using the portal or are having issues with it, go ahead and send any meeting or rating information to hillappointments@nfb.org, or you can call room 275 directly at 410-659-9314, extension 2750. You see what we did there? All right. The next item I want to get to is the congressional reception, and this will be tomorrow, that is Tuesday, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. If you look in the agenda, it will state that it is in Russell 325, or the Kennedy Caucus Room. Don't believe that. That's not true. It is now in Hart 902, so it'll be on the 9th floor of the Hart Senate Office Building. And as John has told me, you want to use the north elevators to get there. The south elevators do not go that far up. We will also have a table at the congressional reception just outside where you can give your staff business cards. So the member of Congress staff business cards, you can drop those off there as well if you don't quite make it to 275 tomorrow evening in time. And the last item I have here is our Wednesday night debrief. That'll be in this very room from 6 to 7 p.m. So that is where you can come and talk to us about any issues you've heard, any major questions that we're getting. And we'll figure out a strategy moving forward on how to address those. So that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, so just keep in mind tomorrow is likely to be challenging. There could be meetings being changed. Be polite and persistent, and let us know how things. We will try and, if you have meetings canceled, keep the portal up to date if you can. Let room 270 know if you can. We certainly have planned to accompany you to some meetings. If you specifically, your team is a lot smaller and you could use some support, if you could email me and or give me a call or any of the government affairs, Jesse, Justin, Kyle, or Lindsay, any of us, let us know and we'll do our best to try to give you some support. That's everything. President Riccobono, back to you.
Thank you so much to our governmental affairs group. Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you also to Lindsay, who's serving as my left hand over here and is doing a lot of behind the scenes work. Yeah, so just a few more things to talk about now. You know, we love our students, right? We're growing up the next generation. Wow, really? I think we love our students more than that. And, you know, our students need help raising money. And so I've agreed to be an auctioneer for them. So you should make sure to come this evening, especially bid on the things that I'm auctioning off. But in terms of raising money, we passed the bucket for this gathering, but we need to raise money all year round. And a primary way that we do that is through our pre-authorized contribution program. And we're really grateful to have our chairperson from Illinois here live in person. So here's Marilyn Green.
Greetings, my Federation family. As President Riccobono mentioned, I'm from the state of Illinois. but I'm also from a city called Chicago. Yeah. So, Mr. Anil Lewis, I know how the weather feels outside. We know 35 below, don't we, Chicago? But my Federation family, I am so happy to be here because it's warm right here in the National Federation of the Blind. And it's warm because of the members of the National Federation of the Blind. It's warm because each and every month, so many of you donate your hard-earned dollars to our pre-authorized contributions, also known as PAC. Yes, how many PACsters do I have in the room? All right. So if you don't know what PAC is a way that you can make a monthly contribution to our national organization so that you can continue to feel the warmth and the love of this great organization. You want to know how to do that? I'm so glad you asked. Yes. You can go to www.nfb.org/ yeah, see, you all are so smart. Yep, PAC/PAC. You can also, if you're not so technically inclined, you can call 877-NFB-2PAC, also known as 877-632-2722. Your dollars go so far in us living the lives that we want. If you're not able to donate, phone a friend. I know you got friends. I know you got family members. Tell them about the work that we do in the National Federation of the Blind. Tell them how this movement has changed your life. Everybody here is a member of a chapter, right? Yeah. You're a member of a division, right? Yeah. But I know you're a member of an affiliate, right? All right, so when you go back home, tell the president of that chapter, division, or affiliate to raise their PAC contribution, or maybe if they're not already on it, tell them to start one. And what do they do to start a PAC contribution, y'all? Yeah, nfb.org/PAC or 877-632-2722. But I want you to know, I had a recent conversation with my friend, my border neighbor, as I call him, Mr. Ben Dallin over in Wisconsin. And let me tell you, Ben told me he was upset. Yeah, Ben was upset. And for those of you who know Ben, if Ben is upset, something's really happening. Yeah, let me tell you what happened. I'm so glad you asked that question. And I didn't even plant her in the audience. I didn't. Yep. So, at the National Convention, who was there in New Orleans, Louisiana? All right. So, there's a little competition that we have there. There's a pack rat. There's a pachyderm. There's a pack mule. And at one point in time, the great state of Wisconsin, where Mr. Ben Dallin is state president at, they were leading to win the pack rat. They were leading for a long time. And then you know what happened? Tennessee came and snatched the rat. And Ben told me, yes, I heard scandalous behind me. Yep. Ben used a similar word. So I'm here to tell you right now, 7 months later, Ben is still upset about that. Ben wanted to take that rat home. He wanted to run it all around the house. He wanted to share it with his Federation family over in Wisconsin and display it at the convention that they're having this, in the spring. But so Ben wanted me to let you all know that he's still upset about not getting that rat. But he also told me to let you all know that he has a convention coming up this spring. And there are some other states that have a convention coming up this spring. Are there any in this room? Well, Yeah, Ben told me to tell you. He's ready. Wisconsin is ready. If there's somebody who's willing to compete against the state of Wisconsin, he's throwing down the gauntlet, y'all. So is there any state that wants to take that up? Nebraska can do it. I heard my friend Jamie Ritchie. See, I knew Jamie. She likes to compete. So Ben, you got a competition. All right now. And see, Ben is quiet. I've been told I'm loud, but I heard Ben all the way up here. So this spring, we have a lot of other conventions happening. We have about 20 conventions, I think, this spring. So don't just let Ben and Jamie in their states of Nebraska and Wisconsin get in the mix. We got a bunch of other states. Get in the mix. Don't just leave PAC for a national convention. Start packing now, like my friend Izzy from South Dakota. Start packing now so that we can raise funds so that we can live the lives we want. But you know what? I can sing it for you better than I can talk to you about it. So, my Federation family, I want you to get on the PAC plan, sign up today. We need your contributions right away. Funding our movement, it must be done, so all our battles can be won. Get on the PAC plan.
Thanks, Marilyn. All right, thanks, Marilyn. And I do encourage you to get on the PAC plan. One of the things the PAC plan helps out with are scholarships, right? Scholarships for students. And we haven't yet said, all of you are going to be promoting scholarships with our members of Congress so they can push it out to their constituents, that the National Board a month ago made the decision to change the scholarship program to raise the base amount to $10,000 apiece. So that's a great reason to raise your PAC plan or get on the PAC plan. And if you want to continue to support the students, you can show up at 8:30 tonight. 8:30, the auction will start. Now, if you're not with us, you can also tune in online. You can get the Zoom information at our National Association of Blind Students websites. There will be a number of great packages. You will be able to bid, whether you're online, virtually participating, or in person. You'll definitely want the packages that I'm auctioning off on behalf of the students, because they're gonna be great. Now, there are some other packages that are pretty good, and you should bid on those as well, because it's for the students, right? And some of those will be auctioned by Qualik Ford from Maryland. Yeah, and his packages are pretty good, pretty good. But bid high on his packages because it's for the students, right? Bid high for the students. Just bid a little higher on mine because they're better packages. But, you know, it's all for the students. It's all for the students. And I don't know why Utah didn't get in that PAC challenge, but it's probably because the packages aren't as good in Utah. I don't know, Utah. But there might be another auctioneer who will announce later. But you do want to show up at 8:30. Please come if you're in person. You're not going outside anyway, right? You're not going outside. So if you're in this hotel, you want to be there at 8:30 to bid on it. The students, we got to support the students, right? Seriously, whoever wins this auction competition, it's about the students, but I want you to help me out and win. So we got two more presentations, and one of them also comes from Chicago, and I know she'll be bidding on packages for the students because she's a great supporter of the students. She's our Director of Outreach. She has a quick set of announcements for you. Here's Patty Chang.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know how to follow any of this. You don't want me to sing. I don't have a poem ready, and I don't know how to dance for you on Zoom. But
well, we're close to 7, so you don't have to do too much at this point, you know?
Yeah, I'll go quick. I got that. So I wanted to talk to you just about Ways to Give. And let me just start by thanking everyone who contributed, was able to contribute, and put money in the bucket. If you weren't able to do that and you're still able to contribute, we of course have our Ways to Give page, and I wanted to especially highlight a new way to give. I'll tell you a really quick story, promise it's quick. 3 years ago, we got contacted by an entity that does wills online, And the first thing we did was assess their accessibility. So we told them we weren't interested because their front-facing stuff was not anywhere near accessible. Well, they called us up again last year. And the first thing they said, and shows how advocacy matters, right? Each individual person that advocates. The first thing they said was, we are now WCAG compliant and we'll let you test us. Now will you think about partnering with us? So we have added to our repertoire of ways to give, and there are lots of ways to give. Even if you don't have it out of your pocket, we have some roundup programs. Check out the Ways to Give page. We have added free will to our ways to give. So the way free will works is you go to freewill.com and you can write your will on freewill.com, and it will ask you at some point if you wish to also contribute to a nonprofit. Now, of course, you can contribute to any nonprofit that you believe in. We partner with Free Will partly in hopes that you will consider giving to the National Federation of the Blind so that we can continue to be vigilant for generations to come. The last thing I want to emphasize to people is if you need a way to give and you're not comfortable doing so online, that please don't be afraid to call our giving line, which is 2430. So our donation line is 410-659-9314, extension 2430. Mr. President, I did keep it short.
Thank you very much, Patty. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure you might be tuned into the student auction later, so we might hear you there. Now, John Perret has one other quick announcement, and then I have one more thing before we adjourn.
All right, so I've had a couple of people tell me that the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, has in the last half hour has put an email out to that the federal government in the Washington, D.C. area is closed tomorrow. Now, to what degree that affects, that's really more the executive branch. It's possible that the legislative branch will follow their lead. When we checked earlier today for the congressional reception, we talked to a number of people, and they all reconfirmed the congressional reception tomorrow. I assume we're going to need to reconfirm it again. We'll probably do that first thing tomorrow morning. You probably should reconfirm your meetings, maybe before you try to get over there. So confirm, double check. It's possible that there'll be more cancellations. I'm sorry about that, but double check. It's also possible, a lot of times this decision is being made on an office by office case. And also the House has less demand to be in session tomorrow, so it's more likely House meetings would be moved to virtual or postponed. And then the Senate, which has an urgent need to come into session because they have to pass the bill that would prevent the government from shutting down at the end of this week. So I think they're going to feel pressure to come in, and as a result, the Senate's more likely to be open, so we can still have some Senate meetings and still have the congressional reception. We'll communicate any changes via email and other methods, and if you get messages from us, please then spread the word. Thanks for your patience, and this just came in. Thank you, President Riccobono.
Now, one thing that will not be canceled is the student auction tonight, because we're here, right? We're here. And, you know, I said Qualique Ford, one of the other auctioneers, I like the guy a lot. He's never beaten me in Power Showdown at our national office. So I wouldn't want him to beat me in the auction either. So please come. But the other auctioneer, yeah, there is another one, is the president of our NFB of Utah. And you should bid on his packages too. They're nice packages, they're good, bid high, just not too high, bid high. But also he's got some awards to tell you about real quickly before we adjourn and get ready for 8:30 student auction, or you can participate online by visiting the National Association of Blind Students website. Here is Everett Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. How many of you have heard of the Dr. Jacob Balatin Awards? All right, these are awards that are given out to individuals and organizations who are making a difference, a powerful force in the lives of blind people. These awards recognize champions of blind people. These awards could be given to blind people, to blind organizations, or to entities that make products or do services for blind people. So it's a wonderful award. It's a cash award, so you can win some money and you can get an awesome plaque, and you'll be recognized at our national convention in... That's right. So how you apply for this award, you apply by going to nfb.org, go under scholarships and awards. The very first option is the Dr. Jacob Balatin Award. And you can then do the application if you're applying for somebody or you're applying for yourself, either way, and then we also ask for at least one recommendation letter. We'll take more, but we want at least one. So your application and a recommendation letter. You can also send questions to balatinaward@nfb.org. That's spelled very fast, BOLOTINAWARD@nfb.org. So let's, continue and let's build the National Federation of the Blind, and let's do that by, recognizing people who have done awesome things for blind people. Thank you.
And you can come learn more from Everett at the student auction tonight in Congressional Ballroom, especially distract him while someone else is auctioneering. 8:30, he'll be there. You can talk to him about the Balatin Awards. So I do hope sincerely that you all come to support our National Association of Blind Students. It makes a huge difference that you show up, and there's obviously fewer of us here. So it would make an even bigger difference. So I'll see you at 8:30, Congressional Ballroom, for a couple hours of supporting our students. Otherwise, we will stand adjourned until tomorrow when we take over Capitol Hill.
Thanks, interpreters and captioner.